Imagine you are standing at the fuel pump, watching the numbers climb higher and higher, faster than you ever thought possible. You feel that pit in your stomach as you realize you are essentially burning your hard-earned money just to get to work or run errands. Most people accept high fuel costs as an unavoidable tax on modern life, a burden we all have to carry. But what if I told you that in Japan, there is a legendary philosophy of efficiency that can slash your secondary spending at the pump by up to 30% every single month? This isn't about buying a new hybrid or installing some miracle chip in your engine. This is about a radical shift in how you interact with your machine, based on the principle of Nenpi or fuel mastery. Today, we are going to break down the Japanese method of hyper-efficiency that the big oil companies probably wish you didn't know. We are diving deep into the technical, psychological, and mechanical secrets that will turn your current car into a fuel-sipping marvel without spending a single dime on expensive upgrades. To understand why this method is so effective, we first have to look at the massive gap between how cars are designed and how they are actually driven in the West. Most drivers treat the gas pedal like an on-off switch. You see a green light. You mash the pedal. You see a red light. You wait until the last second and smash the brakes. This binary style of driving is the primary reason you are losing 30% of your fuel's potential energy to heat and friction. In Japan, the approach is entirely different. It starts with the concept of eco-run, a disciplined set of habits that maximizes the kinetic energy your engine has already worked so hard to create. The first pillar of the Japanese method is called pulse and glide. Your engine is actually operating in a very inefficient zone where pumping losses are high. The pulse and glide method suggests that instead of maintaining a steady speed with a light foot, you should pulse the throttle firmly to reach your target speed quickly, getting the engine into that high-efficiency load zone. You completely let off the throttle or shift into neutral if it's safe and legal in your area, allowing the car to glide using its own momentum. By cycling between these two states, you are ensuring that every drop of fuel burned is doing the maximum amount of work. It sounds counterintuitive to accelerate firmly to save fuel, but when you look at the thermal efficiency charts of a modern engine, the data doesn't lie. You are essentially bypassing the lazy part of the engine's power band, where fuel is wasted just keeping the pistons moving against vacuum pressure. Now, let's talk about the second pillar, which is anticipatory braking. In the Japanese philosophy of driving, every time you touch your brake pedal, you are admitting a failure in your strategy. Think about it. Fuel is energy. Your engine turns that fuel into forward motion. When you hit the brakes, you are taking that expensive motion and turning it into useless heat at the brake pads. It is literally throwing money away. The Japanese method involves looking far beyond the car directly in front of you. You are looking 3, 4, or even 5 cars ahead. If you see a light turn red a quarter mile away, your foot should already be off the gas. You aren't coasting to a stop. You are managing your energy decay. If you can time it so that you never actually come to a complete stop before the light turns green again, you have saved an immense amount of fuel. Why? Because the amount of energy required to move a 2-ton vehicle from 0 miles per hour to 10 is significantly higher than the energy needed to go from 10 to 20. By keeping your rolling momentum alive, you are bypassing the most fuel-heavy part of the driving cycle. But we can't talk about fuel efficiency without talking about the hidden weight and aerodynamic drag. In many Japanese households, the car is treated with immense respect and kept meticulously organized. If you look in the trunk of the average car on the road today, you'll find old gym bags, boxes of tools you don't use, perhaps a forgotten case of water. Every 50 pounds of extra weight reduces your fuel economy by about 1 to 2%. It doesn't sound like much, but it's cumulative. Many people leave roof racks or bike carriers on their cars year-round even when they aren't using them. At highway speeds, the aerodynamic drag caused by an empty roof rack can slash your fuel economy by 5 to 10%. The Japanese method is about aerodynamic cleanliness. If it isn't serving a purpose for the journey you are on right now, it shouldn't be on or in the car. This level of mindfulness ensures that the engine isn't fighting unnecessary resistance. Let's dive into the 60-second rule. This is something that is culturally ingrained in many parts of Japan, where idling is seen not just as wasteful, but as disrespectful to the environment and the community. If you are going to be stopped for more than 60 seconds, you turn the engine off. Modern engines use a very small amount of fuel to restart, usually equivalent to only about 10 to 15 seconds of idling. If you are waiting at a long freight train crossing or waiting for a friend to come out of their house, that idling engine is achieving 0 miles per gallon. Over the course of a month, those minutes of idling can add up to several gallons of fuel. If your car doesn't have an automatic start-stop system, you can do it manually. It requires a bit of discipline, but the savings reflect directly in your wallet at the end of the month. Now, let's get into the technical side of the Japanese method, rolling resistance mastery. Your tires are the only point of contact between your car and the road. If they are even slightly underinflated, the footprint of the tire grows, creating more friction and making the engine work harder to push the car forward. The Japanese approach is to check tire pressure every single time you fill up with fuel. But here is the secret. They often run their pressures at the high end of the manufacturer's recommended range. If your door placard says 32 to 36 psi, aiming for the 36 mark reduces the deformity of the tire as it rolls. This lowers rolling resistance and can improve your fuel economy by another 3 to 5%. Furthermore, they pay close attention to wheel alignment. A car with wheels that are even slightly toed out is like a person trying to walk with their feet pointing in different directions. You are essentially scrubbing the rubber against the asphalt, creating a massive amount of drag. A perfectly aligned car glides with almost no effort. We also have to discuss the air-fuel pathway. In the Japanese method of maintenance, the air filter is considered the lungs of the vehicle. A dirty air filter might not prevent the car from running, but it forces the computer to adjust the fuel trim, often leading to a richer mixture that wastes fuel. We wait for the service interval to change filters. The proactive driver inspects the filter every month. If you can't see light through the pleats of the filter when you hold it up to the sun, it's costing you money. Replacing a $10 filter can sometimes save you $50 in fuel over its lifespan. It's a simple calculation of ROI that many people miss. Let's talk about thermal management. An engine is most efficient when it is at its full operating temperature. Short trips are the ultimate fuel killers, because the engine spends the entire time in warm-up mode, where it dumps extra fuel into the cylinders to heat up the catalytic converter and the engine block. The Japanese method of trip chaining involves planning your errands so that you do them all in one continuous loop. Instead of going out 3 times for 15 minutes each, you go out once for 45 minutes. This ensures the engine stays at its peak thermal efficiency for the majority of the drive. It's a logistical shift that requires 5 minutes of planning, but can result in a 20% reduction in fuel consumption for those specific errands. Now, I want to talk about something a bit more psychological: the zen of the right lane. We are constantly in a rush. We weave through traffic, acceleration hard to fill a gap, only to hit our brakes seconds later. This aggressive surfing of traffic is not only stressful, but it's incredibly expensive. The Japanese method emphasizes flow state driving. By staying in the slower lanes and maintaining a consistent, predictable speed that aligns with the timing of the traffic lights, you avoid the constant speed fluctuations that eat fuel. It's about being the water that flows around the rocks rather than the hammer that tries to break through them. When you stop fighting the traffic and start moving with it, your fuel consumption drops dramatically. Let's look at the air conditioning strategy. We all know that AC uses fuel because it places a mechanical load on the engine. However, at high speeds, opening your windows creates so much aerodynamic drag that it's actually worse than running the AC. The Japanese method follows a speed threshold rule. If you are traveling below 40 miles per hour, turn the AC off and roll the windows down. The wind resistance is low enough that the engine won't feel it. Once you go above 45 or 50 miles per hour, roll the windows up and use the AC on its lowest effective setting. This optimizes the trade-off between mechanical load and aerodynamic drag. It's a small detail, but when you're looking to cut 30%, every small detail counts. Another fascinating aspect of this philosophy is fuel grade integrity. There is a common misconception that premium fuel will give you better mileage. In reality, unless your engine is specifically tuned for high-octane fuel and requires it to prevent pre-ignition, putting premium in a car designed for regular is just lighting money on fire. The Japanese method focuses on the quality of the fuel rather than the octane. Using top-tier fuels with high detergent content keeps your fuel injectors clean. A dirty fuel injector doesn't spray a fine mist. It dribbles fuel in large droplets. Large droplets don't burn completely, meaning you are sending unburnt fuel right out the tailpipe. Keeping those injectors clean through high-quality fuel and the occasional high-quality cleaner ensures every molecule of fuel is converted into motion. Let's talk about the transmission secret. Many people who drive automatics just put it in D and forget about it. But the Japanese method involves active transmission management. If your car has a sport mode and an eco mode, the difference isn't just a marketing gimmick. Eco mode changes the shift points, forcing the transmission to get into the highest gear as quickly as possible. Higher gears mean lower RPMs, and lower RPMs mean fewer intake strokes per mile, which equates to less fuel used. If you don't have an eco mode, you can mimic this by lifting your foot slightly once you reach a cruising speed, which signals the automatic transmission to upshift. Mastering the shift signal with your right foot can keep your engine humming at 1500 RPM instead of 2000, saving you a significant amount of fuel over a long commute. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Speed. Physics is an unforgiving teacher. The energy required to overcome wind resistance doesn't increase linearly with speed. It increases cubically. This means that driving at 80 miles per hour requires significantly more than double the energy needed to drive at 40. In the Japanese method, there is a golden speed, usually between 50 and 60 miles per hour, where most modern gear ratios and aerodynamic profiles find their peak efficiency. By simply dropping your highway speed from 75 to 65, you can often see an immediate 10 to 15% improvement in fuel economy. You might arrive at your destination 5 minutes later, but you are arriving with more money in your pocket. Ask yourself, is 5 minutes of your time worth the $5 or $10 you just burned to get there? The answer is no. We also have to look at the hill strategy. When most people hit a hill, they try to maintain their exact speed by pushing harder on the gas. This forces the transmission to downshift and the engine to scream, consuming massive amounts of fuel. The Japanese gravity management technique suggests that you should accept a slight loss of speed as you go up a hill. You keep your foot in the same position, allowing the car to slow down naturally. Then once you crest the hill, you use the free energy of gravity on the way down to regain your speed. You are essentially using the landscape to your advantage, rather than fighting against it. It captures the momentum that nature provides. Think about the dashboard feedback. Many modern cars have a real-time MPG display. Most people ignore it or find it distracting. This display is your most important tool. It is your sensei. By keeping that display on and constantly trying to game it to stay as high as possible, you receive immediate feedback on your driving habits. You'll begin to see exactly how much fuel that unnecessary acceleration cost you. You'll see the cost of that 3-mile-per-hour headwind. This constant feedback loop trains your brain to subconsciously adopt more efficient habits. It turns fuel saving into a challenge, a game that you win every time you visit the gas station. Let's talk about the cold start ritual. In many Western countries, people start their cars and let them sit for 10 minutes to warm up in the winter. This is incredibly inefficient. An engine under zero load warms up very slowly, and during that time, it is running a very rich fuel mixture. The Japanese method is start the car, wait 30 seconds for the oil to circulate, and then drive away gently. The engine warms up much faster under a light load, which means it gets out of its fuel-gulping warm-up phase much sooner, as long as you don't push the engine hard until the needle moves. This is actually better for the longevity of the engine, and significantly better for your fuel bill. Now consider the parking strategy. When you arrive at a destination, do you drive around for 5 minutes looking for the absolute closest spot? The Japanese method suggests the first open spot rule. By taking the first spot you see, even if it's further away, you stop the search and idle phase of your drive. Additionally, they often recommend backing into parking spots while the engine is warm. Why? Because when you leave later and the engine is cold, a simple forward exit is much more efficient than a complex multi-point reverse maneuver while the engine is struggling to reach temperature. It's a tiny forward-thinking habit that minimizes high-consumption maneuvers during the least efficient part of the engine's cycle. Let's look at the fuel tank weight myth. Some people think they should only keep their tank half full to save weight. Water in the fuel leads to poor combustion and can damage injectors over time. The weight versus integrity balance usually favors keeping at least a quarter tank at all times. This also protects the fuel pump, which relies on being submerged in fuel to stay cool. A cool, healthy fuel pump is more efficient and lasts longer, preventing a $1,000 repair bill down the line. The Japanese philosophy of Kaizen, or continuous improvement, applies perfectly to fuel economy. You don't try to change everything overnight. You start with the tires. Then you move to the pulse and glide. Then you start managing your rolling momentum. Each small change builds on the last. Within a month, these actions become muscle memory. You aren't trying to save fuel anymore. You are simply driving correctly. The 30% reduction isn't a miracle. It's the inevitable result of removing 30% of the waste from your driving habits. Think about the cumulative effect of this. If the average person spends $3,000 a year on fuel, a 30% saving is $900. That is a free vacation, a significant upgrade to your home, or a massive boost to your savings account. And what did it cost you? A few minutes of planning, a bit of attention to your tire pressure, and a more relaxed, zen approach to your daily commute. In fact, many people who adopt the Japanese method find that they are less stressed when they arrive at work. By stopping the fight with traffic and focusing on flow, you arrive calmer and more composed. The financial saving is just one part of the benefit. Let's break down the actual 2-minute parts of this that you can do today. Step 1. Clean out your car. Get rid of everything you don't need. Total time: 2 minutes. Step 2. Check your tire pressure and add a few PSI if they are low. Total time: 2 minutes at any gas station. Step 3. Adjust your real-time MPG display so you can see it clearly. Total time: 10 seconds. From there, it's just about mindfulness. The pulse and glide and anticipatory braking don't take extra time. They just take different focus. You are already in the car. You are already driving. You might as well do it in a way that keeps your money in your pocket. In Japan, there are actually eco-driving competitions, where ordinary people compete to see who can get the highest mileage out of standard cars. They treat it like a sport. They understand that driving is a skill, and like any skill, it can be refined to a high art. When you look at your car not as a gas guzzler but as a precision tool that you are learning to use more effectively, your relationship with the machine changes. You start to feel the momentum. You start to hear when the engine is in its sweet spot. You become an active operator rather than just a passenger with a steering wheel. We also have to mention the lubrication factor. The Japanese method emphasizes using the exact oil viscosity recommended by the manufacturer, often favoring low-viscosity synthetic oils, like 0W20, if the engine is designed for it. These thinner oils reduce the internal friction of the engine, making it easier for the pistons to move. This is why many Japanese manufacturers were early adopters of these ultra-thin oils. If you are using a thicker oil than necessary, your engine is essentially trying to swim through honey. Using the correct, high-quality synthetic oil can account for a 2 to 3% difference in fuel economy on its own. And let's talk about the wind management at stoplights. If you see a line of cars at a light, and you are coasting toward it, don't just look at the cars. Look at the gaps. If you can slow down early enough that you never have to put your foot on the brake, and the light turns green while you still have 10 miles per hour of momentum, you have just won that interaction. You'll notice the car next to you, who raced to the red light and stopped, has to burn a massive amount of fuel to get moving again, while you simply roll past them with a light tap on the gas. It's incredibly satisfying once you start getting it right. The Japanese method to cut your fuel bill is really a method for life efficiency. It teaches us that waste is often invisible until we look for it. We waste fuel in the same way we waste time or waste opportunities, by not being present, by not planning, and by reacting to the world rather than anticipating it. When you master your fuel bill, you are proving to yourself that you can master your environment. You are taking a stand against the throwaway culture and choosing a path of precision and care. Imagine if everyone implemented these steps. The demand for fuel would drop, the air in our cities would be cleaner, and the average family would have nearly $1,000 more in their pockets every year. This isn't just about your car. It's about a collective shift toward a more intelligent way of living. But you don't have to wait for everyone else. You can start today. You can be the one who gets 30% more out of every tank. You can be the one who drives with the zen of a master. To recap the routine so you can start tomorrow. Before you leave, check that your car is light and aerodynamic. As you drive, look far ahead and manage your momentum. Use the pulse and glide technique to keep your engine in its efficiency zone. When you hit the highway, find that golden speed and stay in the flow. Use your real-time MPG display as your coach. And finally, Keep your maintenance proactive rather than reactive. You'll find that the first week is the hardest because you are breaking old, binary driving habits. But by the second week, you'll start to see the numbers on the dashboard climb. By the third week, you'll notice you aren't stopping at the gas station as often. And by the end of the month, when you look at your bank statement, the fuel category will be significantly smaller. That is the moment of realization. That is when the effort pays off. You might hear people say, "Life is too short to drive slow," or "I don't have time for this." But again, we aren't talking about driving slow. We are talking about driving smart. We are talking about the difference between a high-stress, expensive commute and a low-stress, profitable one. It's about getting the absolute most out of every resource you have. So, next time you get behind the wheel, take a deep breath. Forget the rush, forget the aggressive weaving, and forget the on-off mentality. Connect with the machine. Feel the weight, feel the momentum, and see the road as a series of energy management opportunities. You're not just a driver anymore. You're an energy manager. You're a practitioner of NENP, and your fuel bill will never be the same again. It's truly a transformative way to look at something as mundane as a daily drive. We spend so much of our lives in our cars, thousands of hours over a lifetime. To spend that time in a state of flow and efficiency rather than stress and waste is a massive upgrade to your quality of life. The Japanese have known this for decades, and now the secret is yours. As you go about your week, keep these principles in mind. If you find yourself wanting to race to that next red light, just remember the brake penalty. Remind yourself that every time you hit those brakes unnecessarily, you are handing money over to the oil companies. If that doesn't motivate you to coast, nothing will. The path to a 30% reduction is paved with small, consistent choices. It's the choice to check the tires, the choice to coast to the red light, and the choice to leave 5 minutes earlier so you don't feel the need to speed. These choices add up to a different kind of freedom, financial freedom and the freedom of a mindful life. Thank you for taking this journey into the art of efficiency. Your car is ready to show you what it's truly capable of. All it needs is a driver who understands how to unlock its potential. Go out there, start your eco run, and watch those fuel savings roll in. You've got the knowledge, you've got the power, and the road is wide open. Let's make every drop count. Remember, these techniques work on any internal combustion vehicle. Whether you're driving a small hatchback, a massive SUV, or a heavy-duty pickup truck, the laws of physics remain the same. The Pulse and Glide might feel a bit different in a truck than in a sedan, but the science of engine load and momentum management is universal. You can even teach these methods to your family and friends. Imagine the impact if your entire household cut their fuel spending by 30%. This isn't just about saving money at the pump. It's about becoming a better, more observant, and more capable driver. It's about taking pride in the way you move through the world. The Japanese method is a gift of efficiency that keeps on giving, every time you turn the key. So, the next time you see those fuel prices on the big sign at the corner, don't get angry. Just smile, knowing that you have the secret weapon to beat the system. Safe driving, stay efficient, and keep that NENP spirit alive. Your car and your wallet will thank you for years to come. The journey toward mastery starts with your very next trip. Make it a masterpiece of efficiency. The reality of modern life is that we can't always control the price of fuel. It's a global commodity affected by things far beyond our reach. But we can absolutely control how much of it we use. We can control how we maintain our vehicles, how we plan our trips, and how we operate the pedals. That is where our power lies. The Japanese method is simply a way of reclaiming that power. It's actually quite beautiful when you see the results on a long-term scale. After 6 months of driving this way, you'll look back at your old habits and wonder how you ever drove like that. You'll feel the clumsiness of aggressive driving when you see others doing it. You've graduated to a higher level of automotive understanding. And don't be discouraged if you don't hit the 30% mark in your first week. Like any skill, it takes practice. You'll miss a glide opportunity, or you'll have to brake suddenly because someone cut you off. That's okay. The goal is Kaizen, continuous small improvements. Your average will shift, and that is where the real savings are found. As you finish this, think about one person who is always complaining about gas prices. Share one of these tips with them. Maybe it's just the tire pressure, or the 60-second rule. By spreading this knowledge, we all win. We all become more efficient, more mindful, and more empowered. The road is a shared space, but your fuel tank is your own. Fill it with the best habits, protect it with the best maintenance, and use it with the best techniques. The Japanese method is now part of your driving DNA. Go out and show the world what true efficiency looks like. Your journey to cutting your fuel bill by 30% starts right now.